Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing one of the topic, that is city creation. In city creation, basically we are talking about one numerator location company. Basically, there one of the person told that you have applied their company. No, basically yes, basically I have applied basically there, but there is no response. Basically, see basically there is still basically no response. Basically. So one of the person told that yes, here basically then one of the person told that here basically Pakistani groups are working, but they are not taking to you. Basically that means you are basically more basically you basically the government have more enemy to you basically other than basically the Pakistanis. Then I told them no, yeah, basically I had not done anything to the Indian government. Basically I had not done anything basically to the Indian government basically, and nothing basically has done basically by the my side basically. So here again back to the numerator, we will keep discussing this numerator topic and this also basically. So just see basically how this is going to connect, and we are going to connect to earthquake also basically like this. See basically currently where is the earthquake. Lots of people says that lots of company, software company also basically have the power of earthquake. So one of the person told that do you know basically where this numerator company basically owner basically currently is? No, that I don't know here basically. Currently, do you know basically where is the numerator company owner basically is? Then you do not know here basically. No, from he might be in Vadodara, but to which person basically he is doing the communication? That is which story basically is generating in the environment of numerator Kareli Bagh, Vadodara city, Gujarat. Then he told that yeah, that need to check basically which story basically he is generating basically in the Vadodara city basically. He might be generating some story here. According to that story basically the business development basically gets the project basically. Do you know how basically? I will tell you one example. As in that numerator basically company started the story basically which is going to connect to the total server basically he has taken. Assume that basically he has taken around 17 server basically, or basically 19 server basically. From 19 server basically from this server basically, for example he's talking about server number 1 basically. So he's basically discussing the story basically like this, each and every single story. The story basically connected to the business development officer, and the business development officer basically connected to the project basically. How basically the story of that particular owner basically. So just see up to what powerful basically that owner might be. Just on discussion of that story basically, the brain got connected of the business development officer, and business development officer basically done the communication with this that the roadmap basically automatically connected to that particular brain basically of the business development officer basically, and he got the project basically. So how powerful basically this business numerator basically owner basically might be. He is basically controlling the brains basically. That is told as head basically. Head means one of the person told that what is head here basically. This is head basically. This is head basically. And this head basically are controlled by blood cells and energies of the person body. So this is basically the head basically. So from that particular communication only basically he given the business development officer basically, and business development officer how basically he connected to that story basically, because somebody he basically got the news that basically he basically automatically gets the news basically that our business basically is not having the project basically, that basically like this basically given the story basically, and that story basically was communicating with some person basically. That basically was some blood cells basically which he was communicating. So that is basically one story of the numerator company basically. So next this numerator basically we will keeps on talking basically, and in this basically we will keeps on talking that this also 11 land basically which is divided basically, that also we will be keeps on talking basically. And in this basically it's a rocky talkie basically sequence basically of the. So how basically this infrastructure are basically handling the rocky talkie roadmap basically. So one of the person told that basically that there are basically 1 lakh sequence basically which is created by the rocky talkie group basically 1 lakh walkie-talkie sequence basically are created. In this basically Microsoft is also one of the walkie-talkie basically. Microsoft is also one of the type of walkie-talkie. He told basically that one of the type of walkie-talkie basically, and that basically walkie-talkie was one of the Microsoft basically. So in this infrastructure basically there was 1 lakh types of infrastructure basically created by the infrastructure creation group basically, who are basically handling the sequence of the walkie-talkies. So basically, how basic? One of the person told that you are basically talking about English software company basically, right? So see basically this is software only basically. This is software only basically. How the Microsoft basically roadmaps are created, and that basically we are discussing. How Microsoft basically can sit at the computer basically at the operating system of the Microsoft, and how basically they can work basically. Currently basically they are working for 2-3 hours basically. Previously they were working for 20 hours, 24 hours basically. But they can currently basically can work for just 3 to 4 hours basically. So that we are discussing how basically the things basically are going to change, and basically how the things each and every things are going to be work. So here basically we are discussing what basically the infrastructure. So infrastructure basically of the walkie-talkie group basically told that basically we have created around 1 lakh infrastructure basically for the walkie-talkie, and in this basically one of the infrastructure type is of the walkie-talkie is Microsoft. So you can just imagine the infrastructure creation group is totally different basically. That basically is that group basically 12 lakh crore dollar group basically. So here one of the person told that the other than group basically are there basically who is handling the entire infrastructure basically. That is software industry is basically handled by the set of groups basically. That also you can say. For example, Hinjawadi Infotech Park basically, that is created from this 12 lakh crore dollar basically. So that is handled by whom basically? Currently basically who is ruling the Pune? That is NCB basically. So they are basically ruling the Pune basically. They are ruling the Hinjawadi basically. But who created this basically? That is basically some group basically, which basically in this basically the political groups are also basically handled by this group only basically. They are basically which group basically, that we also don't know basically. So like this basically it about the Hinjawadi also basically. So Hinjawadi groups also basically are using this roadmaps basically, because each and every internet roadmap, each and every communication roadmap, each and every mail roadmap basically, each and every internet computer roadmap basically are created from this only basically. That is this basically. Even Microsoft basically sometimes connects to the computer, and basically they say that basically we are also basically there here basically. We are also basically there. Only numerator is not there basically. We are also there basically. So like this basically they also basically communicates basically. How basically communicates that I don't know basically. So see basically roadmap see basically. So one of the person told that how basically the Reliance is basically handling the internet basically. Through this only basically. They are handling through this only basically. There are 1 lakh roadmap created basically of the walkie-talkie basically by the infrastructure group basically. In the infrastructure group basically they are handling this also basically. So 1 lakh roadmap basically is created just for walkie-talkie, and walkie-talkie basically groups basically handles internet, this that basically. So one of the person told that basically police basically groups have the control of internet, right? Basically they can shut down the entire country's internet also basically. That everybody might be knowing this. Then it doesn't owner, yes. So they have the control of this basically. They will switch off that walkie-talkie basically, and entire internet of the India will be get shut down basically. So see the power basically of the police group also basically. But they don't use the mishouse they don't miss the power basically. They don't miss what to say basically. They don't do misuse basically of the power basically. So see basically from one walkie-talkie basically you can shut down the entire internet basically. So see the walkie-talkie power also basically. But walkie-talkie is connected with this basically. So in next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about the walkie-talkie infrastructure which is created by certain groups.